Some huge results in the club championship this weekend. Corofin have been knocked out by Pádraig Pierces. Of course, we also have Clonairin, Kilcoo. We also have Errigal Kieran, all picking up wins in the Ulster Championship. All that and more. And Cuala, of course, on a roll, beating Naas in the Leinster Championship. It has been a hell of a week in the club championships. I'm joined by Matthew Hurley to run through it all. Welcome to another episode. Yes, welcome back everyone to another episode here on Cluiche. My name is Séamus Brady, I'm the host, and I'm joined once again by Matthew Hurley, the Gaelic statsman. Matthew, a big weekend in the club championship, some huge games, and probably the thing that's the most joyous about it is those lists are getting shorter and shorter and shorter on your Instagram, of course. The list of results, it's getting shorter, and the games, therefore, are getting more meaningful.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, thanks for having me on again, Séamus. Yeah, I suppose watched a few games this weekend, including Castlehaven up against Dr. Gross earlier today. The forces that Haven didn't get over the line today against Crokes. You had Naas struggling against Cuala more or less on Saturday evening as well. So yeah, poor results there from both Haven and Naas point of view. That's two predictions down the drain that I made on Aaron's page on Thursday night as well. At least Pierce's won against Corofin. That was something anyway. And Scottstown didn't actually play this weekend. Obviously, condolences go to Ryan Lyon's family at the loss of his brother. And obviously, the Ulster Towns have made the right decision there to postpone the game until next week there. So yeah, hopefully the Oran Gaels club are keeping well after, well, it's a difficult, tragic situation, obviously, within that club, and it was the right decision, as I said, to call off that game. But yeah, therefore, it was a lot of games on this weekend, and looking forward to getting into them.
Yeah, no, it certainly was. We're going to highlight a couple of key results, obviously from the Sunday and from the Saturday, and then run through the rest of the results. We're going to start in chronological order. We're going to start with the first day of the weekend, Saturday. I've highlighted two results that I think were massive results on the Saturday, starting off from the Leinster Football Championship. This one was the Shark Tank. The two Sharks in the tank went head-to-head at St. Conleth's Park in Newbridge, obviously the newly developed St. Conleth's Park. Me and you had both tipped Naas to win, given their experience of being in the Leinster Championship and given the opportunity that would have arose since Kilmacud obviously have been eliminated. But Cuala, in a very similar way to O'Loughlin Gales last season when they knocked out Ballyhale, really stamping down their foot and saying, we deserve respect. They actually made the game trickier on themselves than they needed to. Obviously, Alex Byrne's goal when the clock was running down made it a lot more tight and tense than it looked like it would have been when Cuala were 5 points up initially. But an incredible win for Cuala, and the streak continues. And you have to say their fans are absolutely sensational. Again, getting another train load of them down into Newbridge to watch the game. They really are well supported. They're adding a lot of colour and a lot of atmosphere to this club championship, and the Cuala show marches on.
Yeah, exactly. So, you'd almost think to yourself, when is this Cuala train, no pun intended, is going to stop? Because we thought it arrived at its destination in the Leinster Dublin semi-final, but it didn't against Ballymun. We thought, okay, that was a good result against Ballymun. Now, can they back it up against Kilmacud? They did. And then we thought in Leinster, okay, they'd be celebrating a bit too much, and maybe Naas will catch by the hop, which they didn't. What a result for Cuala, and brilliant performances from Niall O'Callaghan, especially 1-5 from play, was very good of the night. Con wasn't at his usual best, but his younger brother was absolutely superb. There's no doubt about it. And they were comfortable at stages in the second half. There's no doubt about it. But the Alex Byrne goal, I know Naas lost it in the end, but that has to be up there. I know TG Carr are starting their goal of the year now. I see the first 3 goals, very good goals, obviously. But Alex Byrne's goal has to be up there, in my opinion. That is a superb finish. I don't know where he got the quality to get that into the back of the net from that distance for the 20-metre line. It was absolutely incredible. What a finish from Alex there. But ultimately, I think Naas, they were very disappointing on the night, just the performance on it. I think David Burt mentioned in RT as well that they were just flat for most of it. Cuala looked more up for it, and it was a bit of a surprise considering this was probably the best opportunity that Naas have had to win a Leinster title in years, because Kilmacud were gone. the champions had been dethroned. This was the chance for Naas to stamp their authority in the Leinster Championship. And to be honest, in some aspects of the game, the main aspects of the game, including the midfield battle, including shooting as well, I think they failed. They failed the test in this. And Cuala passed it while winning their first ever Dublin Crown, which you have to give credit to them for that as well. I think they'll beat Tullamore in the semi-finals after that as well. They'll probably go on to win Leinster. And who's to say they can't win the All-Ireland after that? I know there's some tough teams still in the tank. But Cuala, like, they've proven they've beaten a very good side like Naas. They beat the champions from 2022 in Kilmacud, or 2023, should I say, Kilmacud Crokes as well. So why can't they go on an all-Ireland run? It's a brilliant result for them. But for Naas, I think it's a massive missed opportunity for the Kildare champions.
Yeah, I think I'd be tempted to say that. Definitely in the past when a big gun has been taken out. But I think the club championship as well, we have to take every game off its own merits, and every team gets here because they deserve to be here, regardless of what happened with the club championship, except if there's a freak circumstance like a Joe Sheridan goal versus Louth 2010, for example. Most teams get there because they have well and truly earned it. But I'll admit, being a Dublin fan, being someone that's watched the Dublin Club Championship for a long time, you are locked into this mindset that Kilmacud Crokes are probably going to win. And then Kilmacud will probably win Leinster as well, which is why when they got knocked out, it was seen as a massive opportunity for everybody else. And Cuala have kind of flown under the radar, even though they beat Kilmacud Crokes. But do you think now they'll start to get the praise that they deserve? Because as we said there, that's Ballymun-Kickham's, Kilmacud Crokes and Naas now, back to back to back, that they've beaten. Like, as you said, why wouldn't they be able to go on and win everything from this point on?
Yeah, it's a true point. There's no doubt about that. But it's a very unusual kind of scenario because Cuala are in this situation for the first time in their history. Mm-hmm. So I don't think many clubs, with the absolute exception in a way, Watty Graham's Lane winning their first Irish crown in 2021, then going to All-Ireland finals back to back. I don't think, other than that situation, that has ever happened in the club championship where a side just wins the first time and then it's like the All-Ireland is second nature to them. So it's going to be difficult for Cuala, there's no doubt about it. Right? The semi-final in Leinster will be easy enough against Tullamore, but then the final against probably RTE or St. Lomans is another test then. But then again, it's in Croke Park. Con will be used to the pitch. Mick Fitzsimons will be. I'm sure Niall will get his bearings around the pitch as well. Niall O'Callaghan. I'm sure Niall McMorrow will as well or Charlie McMorrow, from centre back. And Paddy Recovery Bird is from midfield, whereas the Lomans and the RT players, most of the side anyway, aren't used to the Croke Park turf. So I would feel that Cuala are already at an advantage going into that Leinster final, if they are into the Leinster final, of course. Then in the semi-final, we'll talk about Pearson in a bit, but they were very impressive today. It would take a monumental performance to beat them at the moment. So yeah, Cuala, they still have some blocks to overcome, but everything's possible for them now to go on an All-Ireland run. And I do think they should get probably the respect that they deserve. I will be predicting probably they win the next round now, because literally it's no disrespect to Tullamore. They aren't up there among the main contenders in Leinster and All-Ireland series. So I would fancy Cuala to win the next day. Then from then on out, it's going to be a tough battle for them then, week on week. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, no, it definitely will be. I think Cuala will win that next game against Tullamore. But the whole club championship this season, has just been shook up, because with Castlehaven being beaten, that means that none of the teams that made it to the All-Ireland semi-finals last season are still in the club championship this season. Glen are gone, Kilmacud are gone, Castlehaven are gone, Bridget's are gone. So it's a massive opportunity for all clubs involved. And that means that even though Cuala, for example, haven't really been here before, first Dublin championship, might be new territory, but most teams are in that same boat. You look at maybe Pádraig Pearse's, for example, who maybe have more experience, but for Cuala, especially that they've beaten Ballymun-Kickham's, Kilmacud Crokes and Naas on the bounce, in my opinion, they absolutely can go all the way and win the club championship, because now that the big guns and now that, teams that are used to being here over the last few years, like your Glens, like your Kilmacud Crokes, now that they're gone, it's anybody's to win. And I think Cuala are absolutely one of the top contenders now, especially given that they put away Naas with such authority. But yeah, like I think next time against Tullamore, it won't be as much of a test. I think. Do you think that might be slightly a problem going into a potential Leinster final against either Lomans or RD, as we suspect?
It might be, but at the same time, the 3 games that they had previously against Ballymun, against Kilmacud, and against Naas would have brought them on fourfold after this. Because going into the Ballymun game, I distinctly remember out of the 4 Dublin semi-finals, at the start of the club championship, we made our predictions video, obviously, with us to win it, obviously. And we had 3 different predictions. I picked Kilmacud Crokes, you picked Ballymun, Aaron picked the Fina. So out of the 4 semi-finalists, all 3 of them were there, plus Cuala. So you would have thought automatically Cuala, you could just put them to one side. They're great that they're there, but they won't get very far. They're here now. They've won 3 important games. So why can't they go on and produce a good performance? I think the Tullamore game might be a blessing in disguise too, considering like they've had 3 tough games now. They might get a bit of a lull, maybe blood in a few players for that Leinster semi-final before going into the final in the Shark Tank against Lomans or RD. So I would feel like it might be a blessing in disguise that Cuala have got an easier game now rather than getting the 3 tough games that they had previously.
Certainly. Well, Cuala, obviously march on the red train, not to steal the pun, and doing the exact same as Matthew did earlier in the episode, but that train keeps running on. Moving up north, where there is still a shark in the tank, no doubt about it, and they're still here. This is the main result that I picked out from Saturday, along with the Cuala Naas one. Kilcoo beating Crosserlough 15 points to 110 at Port Gessler in Newry. This game proved to be a big test for Kilcoo, yeah, especially compared to the Burn game, for example, in the down final. Crosserlough were game from the start. But Kilcoo ultimately got over the line, helped, I think, massively by their experience. They managed out the game and got over the line. But Crosserlough definitely went out on their shield.
Yeah, exactly. So at the same time as well, another thing that massively helped Kilcoo's cause was the sending off for James Smith. I didn't watch the game now, but according to some people up in Ulster, that was a stupendous sending off from James, and I'm sure he would have learned from his experience after that. But Crosserlough were in this game. Like they were. I think they were a point down at half time. A lot of people watching the game, like our good friend John McMahon, obviously was watching the game, and he was saying this. Obviously to a group chat or whatever, was saying that Crosserlough were probably just outclassed by Kilcoo, and Kilcoo were just holding on in there in the second half. This was a massive opportunity for Crosserlough to take, which is kind of a damning thing kind of to say when you think about it, because if Kilcoo were off it, Crosserlough had a major opportunity here to take down a big gun. They didn't take that opportunity, unfortunately, for them. But I'm sure they would have learned from their experiences and they go ahead into next year in the Cabinet Championship. But for Kilcoo, it's a warning sign. They've got over it now. They're into the semi-final against Clonard, which we'll talk about in a little bit as well. It's not Clonard. It's against Scotstown or against Bleak, my brain tonight. That's going to be a tough encounter. I'd imagine that's going to be Scotstown. Obviously, we don't know the exact result of that quite yet because of the family bereavement in the Orgales club, but that would be a tough test in the semi-final. So I'm sure Kilcoo will say it amongst their camp, we can't perform like this again. If we perform like this against, say, a Scotstown in the semi-final, we could be ambushed. So I feel like Kilcoo will have to learn a lot from their experiences. And maybe for Crosserlough, the Cabinet champions, this might have been, same as Naas, maybe it's a bit of deja vu here. It's a missed opportunity. 2-point loss to Kilcoo is a decent enough result. But considering they were ahead for most of the first half, they were only a point down at half time. They had the guy sent off towards the end of it as well for a bit of nothingness, really, according to some people. Maybe it was a chance missed for Crosserlough, and I'm sure they'll be regretting it later on the week.
Yeah, no, I would say so too. It's a big opportunity to take out a big gun, and as we've seen, like they were wobbly, especially given last season when they did lose at this stage to Scotstown, and with Scotstown still lurking around, if they get through, obviously the fixed game against Angels Bleak, it'll be interesting to see the two of them go up toe to toe. Now running through the rest of Saturday's results, keeping it to Senior Championship. So the Connacht Senior Football Championship quarter-final, Ballina Stephenites 15 points, North London Shamrocks 9 points. So Ballina getting the job done, not shooting the lights out though at the same time. And then the Munster Senior B LGFA final, Ballymacarbery 210, Clonakilty 13 points. That one is after extra time. So we're going to move on then to the Sunday's results, and I picked out the two results that I think are the big ones from Sunday, and then we'll move on. We have actually a good few results that I want to talk about in depth on the Sunday, starting off with this one, the Connacht Senior Football Championship quarter-final. Pádraig Pearses from Roscommon 210, Corofin from Galway 10 points at Pearse Stadium in Tuam. We called it right. And Pádraig Pearses absolutely did their hard work in the first half. The early goal from Paul Carey, and he was all over the place, saving then a goal chance that Corofin had down at the other end. He hit 1-3 in the first half, was sensational for Pádraig Pearses all the way throughout. And as I said, their work was done. Corofin had gave themselves an absolute mountain to climb at halftime, and they ultimately just couldn't pull it back. And then, of course, the breakaway goal for Pádraig Pearses, where Bernie Powers halfway up the pitch. How many times have we seen it? Ball rolled into the back of the net. And Pádraig Pearses are through to the next round. Corofin are out.
Yeah, and to be honest, like this was a call during the week because Aaron predicted Corofin, and he was saying the players that they had, and that maybe kind of second guess my prediction, to be honest with you. But yeah, Pearses got over the line, and to be honest with you, like once they get into Connacht, they're a really serious team. And you look at Paul Carey, for example, the two dailies as well. They are serious players, and they have been serious players for a long time. No, Paul Carey, in particular, I don't know how he hasn't got an appearance for Roscommon. As far as I know, anyway, he's an outstanding footballer, a very good corner forward. But to be honest, it just looked very, very comfortable for Pearse's throat, and it would be a bit of a worry for Corofin to lose the kind of final as they did last season against Bridget without playing particularly well. And then for Pearses to absolutely, let's be honest, smoke them in this Connacht quarter-final as well. It wasn't a good look for Corofin, and they'll have to go back to the drawing board for next season. Maybe a few retirements as well, which obviously Gary Sice, what's left in the tank for him, 39 years of age now. We'll have to see what happens in the winter months, or particularly in January, February, March. Will he choose to step down from even the club role? We'll have to see then. But for Pearses, I feel like Connacht has really opened up for them now. They've Mohan next, which will be a test, obviously. Then they did the final against Ballinasloe Stephen, probably maybe even Kildare Strandhill. So I would imagine Pearses will get past Connacht, will get tested, but I think they'll get past Connacht. And then the Leinster champions, which most likely will be Cuala now. So Cuala against Pearses, it looks like going on full head-on collision course in the semi-final of the All-Ireland. That seems like a very intriguing game. And I predicted Pearses to get to the final. You predicted them to win the All-Ireland throughout. I think they're at least getting to the final anyway. So our predictions will stay intact.
Yeah, no, I have to say, I predicted Pádraig Pearses to win the All-Ireland Club Championship on the weekend preview, especially after they knocked Bridget's out. And I'm very, very confident in that prediction after seeing them dismantle Corofin in that first half. Obviously, Carey gets the goal. They did their work in that first half, but it's also, when we were talking about predicting them to win against Corofin, even though Corofin on paper might have more talent, the reason I was given was I think Corofin can deal with a loss better than Pádraig Pearses can. Corofin and their players already have bags of medals at the club championship level, and crucially, they all have multiple All-Ireland medals. Players like the Dailies, Paul Carey for Pádraig Pearses, they don't have an All-Ireland club medal, and that would keep them up at night. So when you're in a battle of a game like I expected this one to be, that hurt of not having it can just be that millimetre to get you over the line. And I was surprised at how easy it was for Pearses in that first half. Ultimately, Corofin did do better in the second half, but then the breakaway goal and it's over. I personally think that the hunger that Pearses are going to bring to the table is just going to be too much for anybody to stop, especially in Connacht. I can't see anybody laying a finger on them in Connacht. I see them going through, probably squeaking past Cuala, and then winning the All-Ireland. That's my opinion right at this moment on the 10th of November 2024. Looking forward to seeing how things actually play out. We'll move on then to the second game that I picked out, the Galway Senior Hurling Championship Final. Loughrea 115, Capitagle 16 points in Kenny Park. After, some real heartache against St. Thomas's over the last couple of years, Loughrea are finally the county champions, beating Capitagle by 2 points in Kenny Park. One question, Why wasn't this a double header with the Pierce's game and Corofin? Both in Galway, but anyway.
Séamus, there is a very good reason for that, and I'll tell you now, the Galway and football and hurling fanatics are so wide apart.
Yeah, I suppose.
That's probably, like, I've heard situations where the Galway hurling fans wanted Galway footballers to lose the All-Ireland football final. That's the hatred between football.
To me.
Yeah. That's the situation. It's North Galway, it's football, South Galway, it's hurling. And I know Johnny Burke plays both, but there's just no in between with the Galway fans, from what I'm hearing anyway. Football and hurling could be worlds apart there. So that is a very good, to be fair, I love double headers myself, but that is a very good reason to keep them wide apart, because you don't want friction. That's basically it. But in terms of Loughrea, look, it was a brilliant win for them to win this Galway Championship. Tiernan Killeen, I'm sure Anthony Burns as well, who scored a lot from playing the Galway Championship, provided some brilliant performances in this. Darren Shaughnessy as well, Neil Carey, Shane Morgan. So there were very good performances from Loughrea, and they got over the line. For Capatagal, that's two. So that's a crazy stat, actually, because the two sides that dethroned the All-Ireland club champions in football and hurling are out on the same day. Sean O'Leary's Newbridge, which we'll talk about it in a bit, and Capatagan as well. So I think that's a bit unusual, a bit unprecedented there. But for Capatagan, look, to get to the Galway final in the first place was a magnificent achievement for them. And we said it during the week. They should be very proud of their efforts, no matter what happened on Sunday. And to only lose this game by 2 points, it's no shame. Loughrea have been in the final year in, year out, getting heartbroken by St. Thomas's. But for Capatagan, look, it's been an amazing year. They'll have to regroup for next season and hope they can rebuild on their magnificent season. For Loughrea, their next game now is a week before Christmas in the All-Ireland semi-final against the Leinster champions, whether that be the Fianna, Thomastown, Kilmaccormac, Calahi or somebody like that. I wonder what they'll squeeze in for a month now. What will they do? A challenge game or extra training sessions or something like that? It's a very difficult situation, obviously, for them. But Thomas has managed it well last season, so maybe they'll shut us all up with a good performance against the Leinster champions. But again, congratulations to Loughrea for winning the Galway title, and well deserved after years of heartache, should I say.
Yeah, certainly. And look, it will bring different challenges to the Leinster, for example, championship, the Munster championship, the Ulster championship, where they get games to keep them, like the games at the highest level of intensity. Like, they will need to find challenge games. And personally, if I was Loughrea, I'd be ringing up Ballyhale Shamrocks. I'd be ringing up Turles.
Would they want to play though, Séamus? They want to take a break. They just want to take a break before Christmas.
But you definitely need a game. Yeah,
but they're not going to play a game. They're out of the championship now.
Money talks, baby. Give them money. Give them money. I don't know. That's what I'm saying, is it depends who they're coming up against. Because one thing that you touched on there is rivalry. All Loughrea need to do is find a club that absolutely despise Thomastown or Nafina or someone like that, and they can say to them, you give us a challenge game, we promise we'll beat them. Little bit of conspiracy to beat the Leinster champions. But you are right. It's a much different, I wouldn't say more difficult, less difficult. It's a much different run in to an All-Ireland semi-final. Now that they've won this game, they are just sitting there, because I remember initially thinking when I seen it, until it hit me, of course, there's no provincial. Why is this final so late compared to all the other ones? They're probably trying to manage it out, probably trying to leave as little space between this and their next game as they possibly can. But I've no doubt, look, Loughrea were very, very close to winning the Galway Championship over the last few years. So they're definitely not flying in blind. I think that they had a good idea that they would be here at some point, so they can take on those plans from previous years and the one that they no doubt had this year for what to do when they find themselves in this scenario. Now, we'll move on to the Munster Senior Football Championship quarterfinals, because there was both of them on this weekend. And we'll start with this one. Dr. Crokes 115, Castlehaven 1-8. Now, me and you did differ on this. You said Castlehaven, I said Dr. Crokes, but the one thing that we had in common was we both said that it would be close. It wasn't close at all. And why was that?
I was watching the game, Séamus, and it was close at halftime. It was 6 points to 5 to Dr. Crokes, and then Crokes scored 1-3 without reply going into the second half. Tony Brosnan hitting the penalty. Castlehaven kind of panicked. Castlehaven did make a comeback in this, but Brian Hurley got sent off for 2 yellow cards. That kind of swung proceedings. Going to stoppage time as well, Castlehaven got a penalty to make it a 3-point game. Damien Callahan stepped up, took it. What a finish into the top corner. And there was 3 points in it going to additional time, but Crokes then scored 4 points without reply towards the end of it to basically end the game, more or less. But to be honest, with Castlehaven, Damien Callahan was out from the start because of a 50-50 injury. I said during the week, he is 50-50. Is he going to play or not? I'm not sure. Connor was the same. Connor looked a bit unfit as well in this game. And Rory Maguire was out from the very start. He didn't play at all in this one. And that's an inter-county player. To miss this game was a massive, massive loss for Castlehaven, whereas Dr. Crokes had literally all their players available. Tony Brosnan was there, Michael Burns was there, Fionn Fitzgerald was there, Charlie Keating was there, Gavin White was there, Shane Murphy was there. All of them were there for Dr. Crokes, whereas the Haven, there was players half fit, and then there was players that weren't fit at all. So that was kind of a major deciding factor in this as well. And the kickouts, really, from a Castlehaven point of view, they were very poor all day. Dr. Crokes were dominating them around the middle. There was one player in particular, their number 5, Charlie Keating. You could see why AFL are looking at him, because the size of the guy, his catching ability. There was one stage of the game, I don't know, did you see the clip on Clubber? I think they posted on social media, where he caught it with one hand in midfield. So it's definitely one to look out for. There's no doubt about that. But to be honest with you, I felt like the Kerry champions were there to be taken from the Cork point of view over the last few seasons. But Dr. Crokes, to be fair to them, they've won a part of the league. They've won the county championship. They've won the club championship. They've won everything there is to win in Kerry. Plus, they have some very good players in the team as well. The likes of Keating. Will he go down to AFLW or AFL? Will he stick with the Kerry team? I'm sure Jack O'Connor would love him in the Kerry team, because he's an athletic player. He's a very good ball-winning player as well. Tony Brosnan was exceptional. It's just a shame that he doesn't kind of replicate those performances for Kerry. Micheál Burns, we all know the reasoning why he stepped away from the Kerry panel, because of game time. I feel like he should get more game time in the Kerry shirt, and I've said it for so many seasons. He's a skillful footballer. I don't know why Jack O'Connor doesn't actually pick him. Kieran O'Leary came on the pitch and got 2 points as well. Keane McMahon is a good young player and got a point to his name as well. There were good performances from Castlehaven players, but just not enough on the day. And Dr. Crokes got it over the line in this one. And best of luck to them in Munster, but they will be a serious team. I've no doubt about that. Even coming up against, they will win Munster. Let's call a spade, they'll win Munster. They'll come up against the Ulster champions in the semi-final. I feel like they will give it a good go, in my opinion. They have the history, they have the players. I do think there's players in that team that could easily be selected on Jack O'Connor's Kerry side. And yeah, it's a good performance for Dr. Crokes, and they're well deserved of a place in the semi-final. But just before I leave this game as well, for Cork football this season, this year in 2024, yes, Castlehaven gave it their all, not discrediting that at all. Just the standard of Cork football this year has been poor, Séamus. I will put it this way, and I'll put up a stat about this as well. About the senior team, they lost 6 competitive games and 13 in league and championship. Not good enough. Under 20s lost their 3rd Munster final in a row. The minors lost by 15 points to Kerry and 17 points to Mayo. In schools level, in the schools competition in Munster, to Curly-Vree, only one Cork school reached the semi-finals, where there was 3 Kerry schools. The Cork school got beaten by 11 points by Tralee CBS. That was Mallow Patrician Academy. And Castlehaven lost by 7 to Dr. Crokes today. So it's not been a good year for Cork football. Added on to the fact that Stephen Sherlock's retired, Killian O'Hanlon or stepped away, should I say. Killian O'Hanlon's retired. Damien Gore stepped away. There are murmurings around the camp as well that others are going to step away in the next few weeks as well. This isn't a good sign. And I feel like if Cork aren't getting promoted to Division 2 next year, I think John Cleere will be in a lot of trouble. I'll put it this way, because there will be fans out there that will not be happy with the performances from Cork. I know he's trying, and Kevin Walsh is trying and all that, but success is so crucial to this Cork team next year, because you look at the stats this season, they're not pretty.
Yeah, no, when you put it like that, it is stark. Like, when you put it like that, it is genuinely shocking that Cork, and you have to remind yourself as well, that isn't good enough for Cork. Like, Cork belong in Division 1. Cork belong at the top table of football. Like, this is a county that has 9 All-Ireland titles, and over the 2010s and the 2000s. Oh, sorry, Galway have none. But Cork, this is a county that has 7 All-Ireland titles. This is a county that was one of the dominant counties in the 2000s and the early 2010s. And from about 2014, 2015 on, it's just fallen off a cliff. Like, that generation that was coming behind the likes of Paul Kerrigan, Donegal O'Connor, they just didn't take the mantle off them at all. And what happened was, once those lads stepped away, there was nothing really coming behind. And Cork fans, even, it feels like, and the general GA fans have kind of accepted that this is the level that Cork are at. It shouldn't be the level that Cork are at. Like, Cork should be, in my opinion, competing the way that they compete in the hurling. They should be up at the top table in All-Ireland finals, playing against the best teams in the country, beating the best teams in the country. And they remind me a lot of kind of where Arsenal were, for example, in the Premier League about 5 years ago, 6 years ago. That, like, a big club performing way below their level. But just like Arsenal, with a managerial tweak, with a few smart, people bringing into the team, they can actually get back up to where they belong. And I actually think when you look at Cork's situation, Cork have an issue because they have so many players that are breaking through in the same positions. Like, I distinctly remember the Cork squad a few years ago when you're looking at players that were breaking through. You're looking at, like, David Buckley, Cathal O'Mahony, Damien Gore, Mark Cronin, all inside forwards. And then the immovable object that was Brian Hurley just wasn't getting out of the way for them. And not that he should be moved on, but it's almost like when Stephen Sherlock says he's stepping away. Well, Sherlock was an amazing footballer, but Cork were hitting a ceiling with the team that they had. And I would be of the mindset, I know Keith Ricken, came in, gave it a go, had to step away for personal reasons. But I would be of the mindset of either John Cleary or somebody else, but absolutely overhaul the squad. Because what did Arteta do with Arsenal, for example? He absolutely pillaged the team from what it was and built it brick by brick into his own team. Same thing with Liverpool when Jurgen Klopp came in. Sold 17, signed 18. 17 players he kicked out of the squad. So I'm not saying that, like, Brian Hurley and people like that should be dropped. What I'm saying is that Cork have been shown a very hard ceiling for the current team that they have. And to break through that ceiling, they need to move on to the next level. They need to move on to the next crop. They need to move on to the undoubted talent that they have. Get Blake Murphy back in the squad. Stop Damien Gore from leaving the squad. Give game time to the likes of David Buckley, Cathal O'Mahony, and see what level they can get to. They've undoubted potential, and maybe potential to take Cork higher than they've been before, because Cork need to get promoted now, and they need to stay up, because they, like, the longer you go out of Division 1 football, the more you get cut off from the rest.
Yeah, especially as well, Séamus. You look at the teams in Division 2 next season in 2025. No disrespect to them, but you have the likes of, you don't have a Derry there now, you don't have a Dublin, you don't have an Armagh, you don't have a Donegal. Yes, you might have a Roscommon.
The last 2 years, the All-Ireland champions came from Division 2.
Yeah,
that
exactly. But no, I don't think it is, no. When you look at the sides in there, like Monaghan are in a transitional period themselves. Meath are in a bad, sticky situation themselves. Like, I would argue the best teams that Cork need to keep an eye on next season, barring any slip-ups, are probably Down because of their Tailteann Cup win, Louth because they beat them last year and in the Skeen, and Roscommon because they have the players capable of doing so. Every other team Cork should be beating. There's no doubt about it. They should be beating. And I feel like there was 2 years ago, we went into a Meath game in Páirc Uí Chaoimh as well, a Meath team under Cuala O'Rourke, which never really got going, and we conceded 3 goals to them. It was like, you need to be doing a lot better. I'm sure John and I'm sure the players are doing their utmost to try their best within this team and panel and all that. But they need to do a lot better. It's as simple as that. And the Low game last year and in the skiing probably epitomised a few problems in this, the keeping the ball for too long, just the tactics in general of the senior team, but not just the senior team as well. Just the minors and the under-20s performances last season wasn't good enough. Like losing by 15 points to Kerry and 17 points to Mayo in minor level, that's not good enough. It's simple as that. I will say Keith Rickens coming into the minor team next year. Hopefully he'll get them to play good football. But then again, you look at the players coming through. You look at schools level in Cork. It's not great. Like there are Cork schools getting outplayed by Kerry schools. That's the situation they're in now. So they have to either change their style of play or miraculously just improve these Gaelic footballers that we're producing in our county. I'm not sure how they do it. Something has to be done, though, in the next few seasons to even match Kerry in the next few years.
Yeah, no, it's a really, really good debate, no doubt about it, and definitely one that we'll jump into deeper on another episode. But we still have a few games to get through here. Éire Óg Innis 2-8, Adair 9 points. So Éire Óg obviously beating Adair, who had obviously taken advantage of the beating Newcastle West to beat Father Casey's in the final. But this is where their run comes to an end. We said Éire Óg are just on a higher level. They proved to be.
Yeah, and to be honest, Adair were ahead for most of the game. I was seeing on Scorpio, but Éire Óg got 2 goals in this game and that killed it off. And to be honest, like Éire Óg are that kind of a team that you'd say that they should be doing a lot better in Munster. They've got their win now and they're moving into a lot more Castletowney game in the semi-final, hopefully, with a bit of confidence under their belt. I feel like that game is a toss-up to call because Lockmore have some good footballers themselves. I know they don't play for Tipperary, but that's because they play hurling. They literally play hurling. For Clare, the Éire Óg Ennis team, there are players there that are clear inter-county standards. So it's going to be a tough one to call. I think Dr. Crokes will romp past Rathgorman, no disrespect to them in the semi-final at the other side of the draw. I hope that one of these sides, Éire Óg or Lockmore Castletowney, really put it up to Dr. Crokes. I don't think they will, but hopefully they do so in the Munster final. At least give them a test or something like that. It'll make the game a lot more interesting.
Yeah, no, certainly. And it would be something that Dr. Crokes would want as well. I don't think they'd want to just walk into a semi-final against whoever comes out of the shark tank that is the Ulster Club Championship. There's a question in here from Gavin Malone. He says, if it's Lomans versus RD in the Leinster semi-final, who takes it for you guys? Match, I'll throw it to you very quickly.
I said RD during the week, so I'm going to stick with that.
I'll go Lomans. Gavin, it's a tiebreaker. If you want to throw in who you would pick out of Lomans and RD to settle the tiebreaker. Meanwhile, we'll move on to the Ulster Senior Football Championship quarterfinals, which took place today as well. And we'll start with the one which gained the headlines and was shown live on TG Cahir, the second game of the day that was. Clon Éireann beating Sean O'Leary's Newbridge by 14 points to 12. The Armagh champions beating the Derry champions, who had just, of course, beaten Watty Graham's Glen. Tiernan Kelly put them ahead with an absolute boomer towards the end, and then another point from Clon Éireann ultimately sealed the deal and they got over the line. Sean O'Leary's Newbridge has been an incredible year. Obviously, to win the Derry Championship, nobody would have tipped that. Everybody would have tipped either Watty Graham's Glen or Slot Neal. And for them to win it, it's still an incredible season, even if they have fallen short to Clon Éireann.
Yeah, it's a magnificent season for them. And to be honest, they held their own at stages in this game, and they had some very good players. Like Conor Doherty was driving them from midfield throughout the game. There's no doubt about that. Conor McIntyre played well. Oshie Doherty played well as well. And ultimately, I thought Sean O'Leary's Newbridge had quitted themselves well. But look, it was just too big of a mountain to climb. I just feel like Sean O'Leary's did well on the shot selection. I was watching this game as well after the Haven game because there was a bit of time to spare, and I said I'd watch this game and turn it on. And Sean O'Leary's held their own in terms of shot selection. They were very good around midfield. They were very good in defence. It just felt like Clon Éireann just had that extra bit of quality when it came down to the last few minutes, like Conor Turbitt, like Tiernan Kelly, like Barry McCambridge up there as well. I will say Jack Condon had an outstanding game today. 4 points from play, 400% shot, or I think 80% shot accuracy in this one. Rory McDonald was good. Conor McConville in midfield. Ryan Owens got a decisive score as well, laid on from wing back. And ultimately, I think Clon Éireann would really put it up to Errigal Kieran in the semi-final. It'll be a tight game. There's no doubt about that. Both sides have some very clear talents in their team, but for Sean O'Leary's Newbridge, no matter what happened today, it was a brilliant season for them. They beat Watty Glen. They won the Derry Championship. It was a magnificent achievement for them. For Clonairon, they've won the Armagh Championship before, as recently as about 3 years ago or 2 years ago at this stage. So their eyes is going to be on Ulster. They said it in the post-match interview on TG Carr today, and I'm sure they'll want to be Errigal Kieran in the next round as well.
Certainly, we'll dive into that game next. Nice little segue. Errigal Kieran, 17 points. Aaron's own Carrigan, 9 points. This one was supposed to be tricky for Errigal Kieran, especially when you looked at how tricky it was to get over St. Eunan's. Carrigan, though, not really too much of a challenge to Errigal Kieran, and they're capable of putting in performances like this. An 8-point win for the Tyrone champions. They march on to a semi-final against Clonairon. That's going to be a tasty one.
It is definitely. And you feel like Errigal Kieran, they're one big performance away from like an All-Ireland semi-final or an All-Ireland final, despite the bad record that Tyrone clubs have. Like, you look at the players in their team: Rory Canavan, Dara Canavan, Joe Goose, Ben McDonald, Cormac Quinn, Peter Hart. Like, they have some exceptional talent. Ian McCrory at fullback. They have some brilliant players, and they probably are the best hope that Tyrone has in getting a club over the line into winning the Ulster first of all, and potentially into one Ireland final in Croke Park. They are a very good side. They're very well, they're technically gifted as well. And I feel like they'd probably be the favourites going into the Clonairon game next time out. It's going to be a tight game. It's going to be 2 points either way, but it's going to be very interesting to see how Errigal tackle that game, especially now for the first time in a few weeks they have a 2-week break now, because when you looked at this, they had Trinnick, then the next week they had St. Eunan's, the next week after that they had Cargan. They now have a week off next weekend, so maybe that'll do them good going into the Shark Tank game against Clonairon next time out. So it'll be interesting to see how they utilise that weekend off and how they get on next time in the semi-final.
Yeah, no, I do agree with you. I think when you look at like the size in Tyrone, the club teams, I do think that Errigal Kieran's ceiling is the highest. I do think that their potential is the greatest out of the Tyrone clubs. And I think if you're going to put a Tyrone club in an All-Ireland club final against maybe Cuala or Pádraig Pearse's or Dr. Croak's, and say, okay, which club has the best chance of bringing the All-Ireland home for Tyrone? I think it is Errigal. I think like the big open pitch in Croke Park, I think would suit the forwards that they have, would suit the Dara Canavans, the Rory Canavans. I think maybe if you look at Trillick, you'd look at maybe a Mark Bradley who might be able to also, wreak havoc on a pitch like that. But it has to be Errigal Kieran, because you got Peter Hart stitching it up together. Ben McDonald and Joe Goose in midfield would be able to go toe-to-toe with pretty much any club midfield pairing. So they're definitely solid. And I look forward to going on and seeing them. I personally think that game against Clonairon is going to be an absolute war. Like, I personally think, like, the two of them, given the rivalry between Armagh and Tyrone, there's no way that that's going to be a friendly game. It's going to be feisty right to the bitter end, and then we'll see who comes through. Clonairon are so solid. They've such a solid spine, from McCambridge in defence to Tony Kelly at midfield to Conor Turbot up front. But if one of them has a bad day, it does massively tip the game and the balance of Errigal Kieran. Errigal Kieran are more hit and miss. Clonairon are a bit more consistent. So right in this moment, I'm going to go with Clonairon to win. I think Errigal are probably capable of an 8 out of 10 performance, but also capable of a 5 out of 10 performance, whereas Clonairon most weeks will give a 7 out of 10 performance. So I'll go with them to win just in this particular moment. And that brings us to the last segment, running through the rest of Sunday's results. So we have here in the Ulster Senior Football Championship quarter-final, of course, just a word on this: Scottstown versus Erin Gales. Belief was postponed due to a bereavement in the Erin Gales club. And of course, Matthew, you mentioned at the start, Ryan Lyons, of course, suffering that horrific and tragic loss with his brother. And obviously the best wishes from everybody here on Cluiche to the Lyons family, and indeed anybody in Erin Gales Belief and anybody who was affected by that tragic passing. The other games that took place in the club championship today from around the country: the Leinster Senior Football Championship quarterfinals, Tullamore 2-10, Tinahilly 1-7, RD St Mary's 2-9, Rathvilly 8 points. The Munster Senior LGFA final, Castle Island Desmonds 3-8, Comeragh Rangers 1-10. The Leinster Senior LGFA final, Kilmacud Crokes 4-14, Eadstown 3 points. And the Connacht Senior LGFA final, Kilkerran Clonbyrne 1-17, Westport won 8. The Munster Senior Camogie final, Galtier won 9. Trua Clonlara won 9, so a replay required there. And that's all of the senior games wrapped up. The last one that we'll stop on there is, of course, Kilmacud Crokes and Kilkerran Clonberne. So in the club LGFA scene, in my opinion, there's no doubt it's between the two of them. And when you look at the batterings that they gave in provincial finals, the absolute annihilations that Kilkerran have given teams coming through the Connacht Championship and indeed the Galway Championship. Kilmacud Crokes had a real battle on their hands in that final in Dublin against St. Sylvester's. I was at the game. I personally thought Sylvester's actually should have won that game. But since Kilmacud got through that game, they've battered everyone in Leinster, like annihilated teams. 4-14 to 3 points in the final is nuts. And now they're out. And I think it's between them two. And the question is, Kilkerran shaded it last season. Have Kilmacud made up the ground to beat them this year?
You would like to think so, given the scorelines they put up. And that was the Easttown team with the majority of the Kildare ladies footballers that won Division 2 this year and the intermediate crown last year. The likes of Grace Clifford at centre forward there. So that was a tough match for Kilmacud. It looked like on paper, but they swatted them aside easily. That was a 23-point win, I think it was. Like, that was a magnificent win. There's no doubt about that. Kilkerran themselves, like, Westport are a tough side. They have Saoirse Lally from Mayo in that team. Like, they are Mayo champions for a reason. They're a very good side. So that was a tough game for Kilkerran to overcome it. They overcame it. There's no doubt about that. So it means that Kilkerran will play either Clonaired from Armagh or Lurgan from Cavan in the semi-final. You would imagine they'll beat them. And then Castleisle and Desmonds will come up against Kilmacud Crokes. Just a word on Castleisle and Desmonds, actually. This is the first ever Kerry club to win the Senior A LGFA title since 1986. Start there for Ger McCarthy. Outstanding. What a year Kerry LGFA have had. You have to give it to them now. That's a brilliant. It's history making, at least. Yeah, it is a really, really good achievement from them. And congratulations to all of the Castleisle and Desmond club. They'll face Kilmacud Crokes down the semi-final. I feel like it would be a tougher test for Kilmacud in the semi, but I think they'll get over the line. Like, they have some outstanding players from the Dublin team that says, like the Cape Bury, for example, and a few other players there. Plus, they have players from other counties, the likes of the Cotter from Cork and the Alpha Davern from Galway. So it doesn't happen in the men's game, just lads. It happens in the LGFA game too. So that just epitomises the team that they do have amongst their ranks. And I think, and I've said it before and I'll say it again, they are the closest side to Kilkerran Clonberne, and especially in Croke Park in a pitch that they might be more used to than any other side. Obviously, Kilkerran have played a lot there, obviously, because of the All-Ireland finals. I feel like Kilmacud are used to that pitch, the ladies as well. So I feel like they'll be a tough test for Kilkerran if they get to the final, of course. So I think they'll put up a test to them. I feel like this Kilkerran Clonberne team, they're almost inevitable, aren't they? The Noon sisters are there, Ailish Morrissey's there, the Ward sisters are there. Like, it is an inter-county side. There's no doubt about that. It is an inter-county side for Kilkerran. So I think they'll be very, very hardly bet this year.
I agree, but I think that this is the year that Kilmacud beat them. I think that when I looked at the semi-final last year, Kilkerran barely got through, and it was in a provincial ground. I think if you move it to Croke Park, the Dublin players like Lauren McGee, Grace Cause, they have more experience. Aoife Kane as well is massive for them in defence. They have more experience playing in Croke Park, and I think that might be enough. I do think like key players like Alva Davern as well is massive for Kilmacud, even though she's from Galway and played in the All-Ireland final this year with Galway as the captain. She basically obviously will play a huge role for Kilmacud in all the games. I think this is the year that they might catch them. And I think I'll definitely be tuning in, because in the dynasties, especially in the modern era, you can't talk about the club dynasties and not talk about Kilkerran Clonberne. They've had the LGFA Club Championship on lockdown. But I believe in a year that has seen dynasties end, like Ballymacarbry, for example, finally losing in Waterford after winning 42 championships in a row and finally losing. It's a year of change, and I think that this might be the year that Kilkerran finally go, especially when you look at on the men's side, none of the 4 teams that made it to the semi-finals last year have made it this year, and this is including Wally Graham's Glen, who've been there for the last 3 years. Kilmacud Crokes, who've been there for the last 3 years. Castlehaven, who looked like they were on their way to building a dynasty in Munster. And St. Bridget's, who again burst onto the scene last year with a very young team. And I tipped them to be back. Pretty much everyone tipped them to be back at the semi-final stage. But yeah, that is another weekend wrapped up. We've one more comment in here from Gavin Malone. He says, great coverage on all the games, lads. Class channel. Thank you very, very much, Gavin. Appreciate your question earlier as well. Appreciate all of you who tuned in to this week's episode. It really, really helps us out to get these episodes done and over the line. That's this episode finished for this week, guys. Gormila Mahagov, Sukt Evet Lynn. Thank you to Matthew as well for joining me for another episode. We will be back next Sunday at the same time. Be here with us to look at all of the club games that took place. Slán agus Bannacht, we will see you here next weekend. Take care.